let's get straight to the point. This is you. You are a governor full of integrity. You have everything a man could want: wealth, a loving family, absolute power, and the unconditional love of your people. But you lack one thing: the loyalty of your younger brother. Your brother took advantage of your son's innocence to set a legal trap and lock you behind bars. During your time in the hell of prison, he didn't just steal your assets and your political office. That was too little for his envy. He allied with a drug cartel to murder your son and push your wife to total madness. The day of your official release was approaching, and he was already savoring the moment to see your face full of pain and despair. But you ruined his party. You escaped prison early. Now your brother has lost his mind with rage. He has put a target on your back. You are wanted by the police for being a fugitive, and by the hitman of the biggest cartel in the country. Congratulations, you just lost everything and you do not have a single place to hide. After escaping the thugs sent by your brother and the feds through a maze of dirty alleys, you infiltrate the basement of a house. You knock on the door with a specific rhythm. The steel door opens slowly, revealing darkness and the cold barrel of a 9mm pointing straight at your forehead. You raise your hands and surrender with total calm. The guard pushes you inside, taking you to a dim room that reeks of marijuana and dampness. On an old leather sofa waits a man covered in tattoos. Of course you know each other. He is the former drug lord, the man whose empire you destroyed when you were governor. He stands up, walks over, and examines you as if you were a strange animal. He did not expect you to turn yourself in. With a sinister smile, he tells you that you almost made him rot in a cell for the rest of his life. His voice is deep and threatening when he promises that he will make you beg for death, but you do not blink. You ask him a direct question. You ask if he wants to reclaim his throne and be the leader of the biggest gang in the country once more. If the answer is yes, you tell him that his only option is to collaborate with you. The narco lets out a dry laugh that rumbles off the concrete walls. He asks you with contempt what a pathetic fugitive like you can offer him. He reminds you that you are no longer governor. Your accounts are frozen, and you have no army. He says that you are worth more dead or sold to your traitor brother as a tribute to start new business. The threat is real, but you keep your gaze fixed on his black eyes. You tell him flatly that it is true. You have no money or political power, but you have something more valuable. You have the intellect and the strategy that brought him down, the untouchable one, from his golden throne to this damp basement. A tense silence fills the room for a minute that seems eternal. He watches you looking for fear, but only finds determination. Suddenly, his fist crashes into your jaw, knocking you to the ground and making you spit blood. You wipe your mouth slowly. He extends his hand and tells you with a cruel smile that it is a pleasure doing business. You stand up without anger and without fear and shake his hand. The pact with the devil is signed, but he makes one last thing clear. If you fail a single time, he will not kill you quickly. He will cut you into pieces so small that they will only serve to feed the fish. You are in the war room, under a dim light that barely illuminates the cigar smoke. You point out the first two fatal weaknesses of your brother's empire. The first is the internal fighting. His own leaders are killing each other for the crumbs of power. The second is his logistical Achilles heel. They depend entirely on chemical precursors coming from China. From these cracks, you map out a detailed roadmap of hundreds of pages to exploit them without mercy. Upon reading your plan, the boss finally understands why he lost against you in the past. The tattooed man looks at you with a new curiosity, leaves his weapon on the table, and asks you how the hell you knew the location of his hideout and the door code. You only answer that a good friend from prison revealed it to you before dying. He knows you are hiding something, but his greed is stronger than his curiosity, so he decides not to ask more questions. 5 months pass. Your strategy works like a slow but lethal poison. Your brother's organization begins to collapse. He loses his routes, he loses his money, and worst of all, he loses the fear he used to instill in his enemies. Realizing that an invisible force is devouring him, your brother's gang tries to negotiate. He sends peace emissaries proposing to divide the territory. They fail. Then he tries to bribe your men and infiltrate spies. But you, anticipating every movement, execute your counterintelligence plan and teach them a lesson they will not forget. When diplomacy and espionage fail, violence erupts. Corpses begin to appear in the streets or hanging from bridges. The silent war has become an open and brutal conflict. With a simple disguise, you enter a small coffee shop in a forgotten corner of the city. You move stealthily to the back table, where a man is already waiting for you with a black coffee. You sit down and apologize quietly for the delay. You explain that you had to circle around several times to lose the lookouts of the tattooed boss who are tracking you. The man in front of you smiles and says that given you are the most wanted criminal in the Federation, schedule conflicts are understandable. You know perfectly well that joke is not for amusement. It is a veiled threat. He is telling you that if you do not put something valuable on the table in the next 5 minutes, you will leave here in handcuffs or in a body bag. And you know that he has the power to do it because the man drinking coffee with you is the General of the National Guard. Without wasting time, you unfold your master plan. You explain that the tension between your brother's organization and that of the tattooed man has reached a point of no return. Total war is imminent. You tell him that when the two biggest cartels in the country start killing each other, both will weaken one another, wasting their men and resources. That will be the exact moment for the general to intervene. He will be able to wipe both organizations off the map in a single strike. You convince him that this military victory will be his direct springboard to the presidency in the next elections. The general listens in silence, analyzing every word. His smile widens. He likes what he hears. He does not care about the blood. He only cares about the votes. He leans forward and gives you a clear order. He wants you to stir the waters as much as possible. He needs the chaos to be so great that even his own subordinates, many of whom are on the narco payroll, have no other choice but to act and fulfill their duty under public pressure. He asks you to burn the city down so that he can put out the fire and take the glory. You nod, promise to do your part, and leave. Life keeps happening while you are busy making plans, and what happens often ends up ruining them. Your brother's organization could not withstand the attack. It crumbled much faster than you had calculated, even in your worst nightmares. In just 2 months, the tattooed man's gang has completely devoured the competition. Now, they control absolutely everything in the underworld. This is a total disaster for you. You know perfectly well that in this criminal world, when the hunt is over, the hunter sacrifices the hunting dog. You have to get out of here immediately. Leaving through the front door is suicide, so you opt for the window. From the windowsill, you jump toward the adjacent roof with your heart hammering in your chest. The impact on your ankles is brutal, but the adrenaline blocks the pain. You think you have made it, but the beam of a flashlight illuminates you like a lead actor on a stage. You have been seen. You run across the sheet metal and concrete roofs like a desperate animal. You hear the shouts of the hitmen and the unmistakable sound of weapons loading behind your back. You jump over an alley 10 feet wide. You land rolling, scrape your hands, get up, and keep running without looking back. Bullets start impacting the stone walls around you. It is a rain of lead. You desperately look for a way down, a fire escape, but you have already been flanked. Upon reaching the edge of the last building, you see that below, 3 trucks and a dozen armed men await you. You look back and the path is blocked by your pursuers. You are totally surrounded. This time, there is no magic exit. They have caught you. The hitmen drag you to an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere and tie you to a chair. Immediately, you recognize the silhouette that emerges from the shadows. It is him, your own blood brother. Upon seeing your pitiful state, his face lights up with a sick and twisted smile. It is the first time in decades that he looks down at you, savoring the sweet nectar of a victory that was always denied to him while he lived under your gigantic shadow. He is euphoric, almost trembling with pleasure. He begins to walk around you and explains his master plan with the tone of a passionate professor who has just solved an impossible equation. He tells you that from the exact moment the tattooed man's gang began to grow from scratch, he knew it was your work. No one else in the world has that strategic capacity. Only you could turn a gang on the verge of collapse into an empire in 5 months. So, to counter your move, he decided to be one step ahead. He contacted the tattooed man and made him an irresistible offer. He himself would act as a Trojan horse, handing over his organization from the inside so that the tattooed man would win without firing a single bullet. In exchange for betraying all his subordinates and renouncing power, he only asked for one thing: your head. For him, losing his empire was a small price if that meant seeing you destroyed. It was a perfect play. It minimized damages and ensured his personal revenge. The tattooed man, of course, accepted with delight. After confessing his betrayal, your brother leans toward your face, searching desperately for a grimace of pain, of surprise, of defeat. He wants to see you broken, knowing that he has outsmarted you, but you maintain that coldness he hates so much. Furious at your indifference, he gathers all his strength and gives you a slap that resonates off the empty walls. The blow stuns you, your ears ring, but it is not enough to soothe his wounded ego. He needs more. So he starts to use words like knives. He begins to tell you with a sadistic calm how he manipulated your son's stupidity. He narrates to you how he tricked him into signing the papers that sent you to prison. While he speaks, he does not take his eyes off you. Upon noticing a spark of anger in your eyes, he gets excited. He continues describing the exact moment he killed your son with his own hands. He tells you with pleasure that the boy died with an expression of disbelief, not understanding why his own uncle was betraying him. And to finish destroying you, he speaks of your wife. With an obscene smile, he details how he tortured her psychologically day after day until her mind broke. He tells you how she begged him on her knees to leave her alone, how she cried for you. At this moment, your eyes become bloodshot. You look at him with a hatred so pure that you could burn him alive just with your gaze. You want to rip his throat out in pieces. He sees your uncontrolled fury, sees the monster awaken, and finally releases a laugh of satisfaction. Finally, he has subdued you. Your brother, the model son, wants to give you one last parting gift. He orders his subordinates to bring your present. From the shadows emerges a woman. It is her, the only light remaining in your miserable life. Immediately, your mask of coldness breaks into 1,000 pieces. You lose your cool completely. You scream, you curse, you fight against the ropes until your wrists bleed. You demand your brother have the courage to torture you, to cut off your fingers if he wants, but not to touch her. But what happens next destroys you more than any knife or bullet. Your wife does not run to you. She throws herself into your brother's arms and hugs him with tenderness. He strokes her hair and kisses her on the forehead right in front of your eyes. Your brother took advantage of your wife's fragile mental state to brainwash her completely. He has rewritten her memories. Now, in her broken mind, he is her husband and her protector. He looks at you over her shoulder and smiles with sadistic pleasure. It is the first time in his life he sees you like this. Crying, sniffling, begging, totally pathetic. Your wife, confused by your screams, looks up and innocently asks your brother who that man is who looks so sad and dirty. He answers her softly not to worry, that you are just a despicable criminal, a piece of trash who is paying for his mistakes. Having said this, he makes a signal to his men. They begin to pour gasoline from plastic jerry cans all over the house. The smell of fuel floods your lungs. Your brother tells you that after all, today's the happiest day of his life and he feels generous. He takes an old, dull knife from his pocket. He throws it on the floor just within reach of your tied feet. He approaches your ear and whispers that he is leaving you a way out. He wants you to have the hope of escaping, so that when the fire consumes you while you try to cut the rope with that useless blade, your despair will be absolute. He wants you to die fighting in vain. Your brother leaves with your wife and throws the lighter on the floor. Hell breaks loose, the heat is unbearable, and the smoke suffocates you. But he made a fatal mistake. He underestimated your will to live. You throw yourself to the floor and reach the knife. You use the blade in the very heat of the fire to weaken the rope. Your clothes begin to burn. Your skin begins to scorch. The pain is something you never imagined, but you do not stop. You saw at the rope with a manic force until, with a last pull, it breaks. You are free, but you are burning. You throw yourself through a broken window and fall into the nearby river just a few seconds before the roof collapses. You fall into the darkness, burned, disfigured, and half dead. You wake up in a strange room with a strong smell of antiseptic. You escaped death, but the price was devastating. Half of your body is covered in burn scars, and you have lost the sight of one eye forever. With your only healthy eye, you focus on the digital clock on the wall. 3 months have passed since that night of terror. You try to sit up, ignoring the stabbing pain, when a man with dark sunglasses bursts into the room. He shouts with glee, calling someone else. He says that the living dead has finally awakened. A young man in a gray hoodie enters behind him. They introduce themselves simply as the counselor and Cat. They explain that Cat's surveillance systems detected you floating near their base of operations and they decided to fish you out before you drowned. You hurriedly thank them for their help and promise that if you survive your next journey, you will pay them back every penny they spent on you. You try to get up to leave, but the counselor blocks your path with a cold phrase. He asks you sarcastically if you plan to get revenge on your brother in such a pitiful state. A sensation of urgency shoots through you. You ask with a tense voice, how does he know your story? The counselor smiles and says calmly that they know much more than you imagine. Without beating around the bush, he reveals his intentions. He wants to recruit you. He explains that his team is composed of people who, just like you, were ruined by the cartels. You ask them if their objective is a moral crusade to end drug trafficking. The counselor shakes his head and says that is thinking small. They aim at the organization in the shadows that controls the drug lords, a much bigger enemy. You look at the counselor and the kid and reject the offer. Their goals are too noble and complex for a broken man like you. You tell them that you only want to kill your brother and rescue your wife, nothing more. You turn around to leave, dragging your injured leg. The counselor sighs, complaining about his bad habit of helping lost causes. He stops you by the arm and says they will help you anyway. He explains that this time, your personal revenge and their global mission have the same goal. Faced with such insistence, and without resources, you have no other choice but to accept. In the living room, Kat summarizes the hell of the last 3 months. Your brother has achieved the perfect symbiosis. By day, he is a respectable governor. By night, he is a ruthless boss. He uses hitmen to eliminate his rivals in Congress, and uses state laws to protect drug routes. You look at the counselor and ask what 2 strangers can offer you. He adjusts his glasses and responds that he is a former high-level hitman and the kid is a hacker prodigy. They are your weapons. You decide how to fire them. You smile for the first time, showing your scar. Your plan is simple but lethal. Divide and conquer. You know your brother's sick ambition. He will never accept being the second in command forever. You are sure that he is secretly gathering evidence against the tattooed man to betray him in the future, whether to use him as a springboard to the presidency or to keep the whole business. The counselor asks if they should steal that evidence. You shake your head. No need to steal it. You just have to prove it exists. The narco's paranoia will do the rest of the dirty work. Kat starts working under your orders. After a week of digital tracking, he finds what you were looking for. Kat sends an anonymous and encrypted message directly to the tattooed man's personal phone. The message is clear. Your partner is recording you to sell you out. The seed of betrayal has been sown. Just as you predicted, the tattooed man read your anonymous letter but did not act on impulse. He sent his own spies and confirmed his fear. Your brother was sharpening the knife to betray him. However, the boss finds himself in a dilemma. He cannot simply execute the state governor, since that would attract too much attention and his power is vital for the business. But the tattooed man is a hardened veteran. He pulls his ace up his sleeve. The video from the hidden camera in the abandoned house where your brother confessed everything and burned you alive. With this evidence, he forces your brother to personally supervise a production lab on the outskirts of the city to ensure that both sink if the ship sinks. Kat monitors the movements of both sides through public cameras and confirms that the seed of discord has blossomed. Your brother heads toward the rural zone. Kat warns that he will lose visual contact as soon as they leave the city limits, since there are no cameras out there. It is the counselor's turn. He opens a briefcase and reveals a military-grade magnetic tracker. You recognize it immediately and ask how the hell they got it. The counselor responds with sarcasm that they bought it from a corrupt general who was selling army inventory to the highest bidder. The counselor gets on his motorcycle and orders Kat to freeze traffic. Kat hacks the traffic lights, turning them all red and creating instant vehicular chaos. The counselor accelerates, zigzagging between the stopped cars until he catches up to your brother's convoy trapped in the traffic jam. Taking advantage of the confusion, he slides up to the last escort truck and with a quick and precise movement, sticks the device on the rear bumper. He disappears before anyone realizes it. The mission is a total success. You realize that you are not working with common criminals, but with a lethal and dangerous elite. Now is the moment of decision, but you hesitate. Your hand trembles slightly. Fear paralyzes you thinking about your wife. If you attack now, and your brother feels cornered, he could use her as a human shield or kill her out of spite. The counselor, noticing your hesitation, puts his hand on your shoulder. He tells you to calm down, assures you that he has already taken care of everything. He has sent 2 totally trustworthy friends to extract your wife from the safe house. He even allows himself to brag a little. He tells you with a half smile that if his friend still had his old team, all this would be unnecessary, because your brother would have already woken up dead in his bed without leaving a trace. You are not sure whether to believe this mysterious man entirely, but you have seen the professionalism of the organization. You decide to bet it all. The counselor drives to the coordinates of the tracker. It is an abandoned factory in the middle of nowhere, the perfect place for an industrial drug lab. The counselor takes a pistol from the glove compartment and offers it to you. He asks if you know how to use it. You answer that you know a little, the basics. He laughs and says that with that, it is enough. Just aim at the lump and shoot. He explains the plan. He will create massive chaos, a fake frontal attack, and a fire so that most of the guards come out to defend the perimeter, leaving the path free for you. You tell him that is madness, that they are going to kill him. He looks at you through his dark glasses and says that the one who should worry is you, because although he will attract most of the guards, your brother will still be protected by his personal escorts. Before accelerating, he drops a phrase that you do not know if it is a joke or truth. He tells you not to fear for his life, because he already died once in the past. He leaves you in the shadows and starts the car. A minute later, a deafening explosion lights up the night. The show has begun. You slide between the bushes and the dry grass, using every shadow as a shield. The counselor's distraction has worked and most of the guards have gone. The main entrance is still guarded by a group of escorts. You know you are not a special forces commando. If you try to face them head-on with your bad aim, you will die on the pavement before reaching the door. Your gaze stops on some metal barrels stacked in an open side warehouse. A characteristic smell hits your nose. A crazy idea crosses your mind. You move toward a blind spot out of the range of the cameras. You tip over several barrels, letting the flammable liquid run across the warehouse floor, looking for the chemical precursor containers. You take out a lighter. The gasoline ignites with a furious roar. The fire runs like a living snake and reaches the chemicals. The reaction is immediate and devastating. A column of fire of unnatural colors explodes, breaking the glass and activating all the alarms. Panic is total. The workers run like ants in the rain, coughing and screaming. You take advantage of that chaos to infiltrate. While the elite guards try to create order and put out the fire, you walk behind them and with terrifying coldness, you shoot them at point-blank range. Since there is too much noise drowning out the shots, they fall one by one without knowing what happened. You go up to the second floor with your heart hammering in your chest. At the end of the hallway, you see him, your brother. You look at each other for a fraction of a second, and the hatred in the air is hotter than the fire below. Both unholster at the same time. The hallway becomes a shooting gallery. The bullets fly, destroying the plaster of the walls, breaking lamps and windows. You take cover behind a concrete column, while your brother's shots rip pieces of wall inches from your face. You shoot back, forcing him to hide behind a heavy desk. The noise is deafening. You shoot. You take cover. You advance. You shoot. You take cover. You advance. Suddenly, the firing pin of your weapon makes a dry sound. Click. Damn it, you are empty. From the other side, you hear the same hollow sound coming from your brother's weapon. A tense silence takes over the place, only broken by the shots that ring out on the ground floor. Your brother yells from his hiding place, proposing a truce. He says that both are without bullets, so he suggests ending this like men with bare fists, like when you played in the backyard as kids. You yell at him that you agree, so be it. You count to 3 to come out. 1, 2, 3. Both jump into the open hallway, but neither raises their fists. In a movement almost synchronized, you pull out a compact pistol, and he pulls out a revolver. The irony of the situation is so great that your brother exclaims surprised. He tells you that you have changed, that you are no longer the saintly and moralistic older brother. You look him straight in the eyes, smile with your scarred half-face, and answer that you only learn from the best. The fire advances fast, devouring the walls like a hungry beast. After several failed attempts to convince you to lower the weapon, your brother takes the first step, throws his pistol to the floor, and raises his hands with a cunning smile. He says that he knows you. He knows that deep down you remain a man of principles and that you do not want an empty victory shooting an unarmed man. He knows exactly what buttons to push. You throw your weapon aside and accept the challenge. You tell him that you will give him the beating he deserves since you were kids. You throw yourselves against one another with a primitive fury. It is a dirty fight without rules, only dry blows and screams. At first, your experience gives you the advantage. You hit him with the rage of a man who has lost everything, but then your brother plays dirty. He digs his thumbs with force into the recent burns of your body. The pain blinds you, steals your air, and concentration. He takes advantage of your moment of weakness to knock you down. While he hits your face again and again, he spits out all the hatred he has kept for years. He screams at you that he always hated your perfection, that he was sick of living under your gigantic shadow, sick of always being the second dish at your parents' table. Suddenly, an explosion on the ground floor shakes the building to its foundations. Your brother loses his balance for a second. It is your opportunity. With a roar of effort, you give him a kick in the chest that launches him backward straight against the rusty railing. The metal breaks and he falls into the void, but manages to cling to the edge with the tips of his fingers. He is left hanging over a sea of fire and chemicals. You approach the edge and look at him from above. He returns your gaze, but there is no longer arrogance, only pure terror. He calls you Big Brother again. He starts to let out pathetic excuses. He says he was manipulated by his partners, that he was possessed by demons, that he was not himself. Seeing that your expression remains of ice, he tries to appeal to your old morality. He tells you that you are a good man, that good men do not let their blood die, but you do not move. Seeing that his manipulation does not work, his mask falls. He starts to insult you, to curse you. He swears that if he gets out of there, he will kill you slowly and will make your wife beg for her life. But your only answer is a deadly silence. His fingers start to slip from the sweat and the heat. The pain in his arms is unbearable. He changes tactics again. Now he cries like a child. He begs you for a second chance. He reminds you of when you played in the park. He asks you to forgive him like you always did before, but you only observe his last moments of misery. Finally, his hands give way. Your brother falls screaming into the barrels of burning chemicals. The fire envelops his body instantly. He becomes a human torch that runs blindly toward the exit in pain. Just when he is about to reach the door, the roof collapses on him, crushing the monster under tons of debris and flames. The villain has paid for his sins, but now you have a problem. The collapse has blocked the only exit. The smoke fills your lungs, and the heat is unbearable. You are too tired to look for another route. You lean against the wall, accept your fate, and close your eyes praying that your wife has a happy life without you. Suddenly, a brutal crash shakes the ground floor wall. A car has just gone through the brick wall, creating a new entrance between the dust and the debris. It is the counselor. He honks the horn and screams at you to get in the damn car because you still have not paid your debt to them.